Hey team, and welcome. I'm your host, Carrie, creator of Mother Life, your destination for all things real talk and parenting. This is the IRL group chat, where we talk about the wild balancing act of pursuing careers and passions while also doing our best to show up for our kids. Join me every week as I sit down with some badass parents in my closet and we talk about their careers, kids, and relationships and all of the weird shit that comes up when you're trying to balance the seemingly impossible. Nesting. In movies and books, it's often depicted as a heavily pregnant woman on hands and knees, frantically scrubbing the floors, organizing the cupboards. This instinctual need to prepare a home for a baby. In my experience, though, nesting has been more subtle. It's sort of adjusted to the season of life that I'm in with my kids. It's looking around at the pockmarked kitchen table where they first ate solids and knowing that they associate that table with family dinner time. Or looking at the chipped, beat-up wall where we mark their height with every passing year and knowing that that kind of ignored corner of our house actually holds great significance to them. In my mind, nesting has really been a slow movement toward building our family brand of cozy. And what we all think of as cozy is entirely personal, based on how we grew up. It's the constellation of smells, sounds, textures that come together to tell us we're safe, that we can relax, sleep soundly, dream. For some people, that's a cup of Swiss Miss on a snowy day overlooking a fire escape. For others, it's a family game night huddled around the living room coffee table. Maybe it's the simple act of reading a book under a heavy blanket that holds you tight. Now, when I look around my messy house where everything is just a little dirty and very well loved, I feel like I'm in the midst of building my kids' brand of cozy, and I am so excited about the prospect. Today's guest is responsible for all these thoughts about a family brand of cozy because, well, she's figured out how to help people figure out that for themselves. And she's drawn deeply into her own story, her own relationship with her childhood cozy, along with her co-founders to make that happen. Barbora Samieian is co-founder of the cult classic furniture brand Sundays and the freshly launched furniture brand Hetta. Her story as a founder and as a parent to her 4 kids is integrally linked to her own brand of cozy, cultivated over borders, across cultures, and now into our homes. Enjoy. Welcome to the closet. I'm so happy you're here. You're, I think, only second Canadian we've had, and I guess now
amazing.
Slovakian Canadian.
Yeah.
We're adding to the mix.
Thank you for having me.
So excited to go through the whole thing. I studied abroad in Czech Republic.
You did in Prague?
In Prague for whatever, 5-6 months, and I tried so hard. I studied Czech the whole time I was there.
That's amazing. It's a tough language.
Yeah, I still, shtyži, like the number 4, I still can't say it.
Yeah. Amazing.
But what a great place and part of the world to be from.
Yeah, it is.
Do you like to cook?
I do.
Do you like cook any traditional Slovakian things?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's a lot of meat and potatoes, which I just love.
Yeah.
And stews. I can make a nice goulash, you know, that whole kind of part of the world. It's very like...
Stick to your ribs.
Yeah.
And Vancouver, that's where you live now.
That's
Is it like weather-wise fucking freezing in the winter?
It rains a lot.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily freezing, but it's like classic
but
Pacific
we need these
Northwest.
foods. We need these foods.
Yeah. Warming. Soup, stews. We love it.
When I was in college in Prague and like we would get super drunk and being whatever 20, we would eat this like fried cheese ball basically.
Yes. Yeah.
Which
with
is
tartar sauce.
Yeah, schmazny sear. It was like basically like a huge mozzarella stick on a bun with tartar sauce.
So good.
I don't know how I didn't die of like a coronary. We were eating these things like multiple times a week.
But it's like you're eating real food.
That's true.
You know?
Real
and you're
fried
like,
cheese.
That's right. Yeah.
Somebody's grandma made that cheese.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so we have a lot to cover today. When I think of furniture and furniture design, I think of Sex and the City.
Oh, yeah.
Of Aiden. Is it just me that's sitting around thinking about like this brooding man on Sex and the City, like designing his furniture and somehow living an affordable life in New York City? Like I still think about it, not infrequently. So when I had somebody in the furniture space, I was like, well, I wonder, clearly it's not a cultural touch point in Canadian furniture business, but you know.
Yeah, we still watched a lot of Sex and the City, but I feel like, you know what, only more recently am I embracing the fact that I am a creative, even though I'm like not a designer per se at Sundays, but I do creative stuff.
Sundays and Hetta.
And Hetta.
Let us not forget.
Yeah, let us
As
not
of
forget.
this week.
Yeah.
Right? Or last week?
Brand new. Yeah, a couple weeks ago, September 18th, we launched.
Okay, so there's a lot to discuss. Also, a mom of 4, it's just so many children.
It's so many children. That's what Mo, my husband, and I say all the time. Like, oh my gosh, there's so many of them.
But also, I can now contextualize. You said the twins are the youngest.
Yes.
So I'm not saying that it was like a whoops-a-daisy.
Yes.
That there are 2, but
Yes.
also like you didn't have a choice in the matter.
That's right.
So that does make me feel like maybe you're less
for a
crazy than I thought.
And then we got a bonus baby in the middle of the pandemic.
Sure.
Yeah.
Of course. Okay. So we're going to start in Slovakia.
Great.
We're going to get to today. How old were you when you moved here?
I was 12.
Okay, so you really fucking grew up in Slovakia.
My childhood is there, and I love, like, I was born in Czechoslovakia, and then later, you know, split into Czech Republic and Slovakia. And yeah, kind of a good childhood.
Yeah.
Grew up in the concrete jungle of, I was in Bratislava, which is the capital of Slovakia. Petržalka is like it's not even a suburb. I guess it's a suburb, but like just concrete. You know, buildings everywhere. And so not the most inspiring, but somehow our parents did a really good job. I'm the oldest, 3 girls, have 2 younger sisters, and they just loved art and nature. And so from a very early age, I just kind of remember being surrounded by those things, whether it was like a beautiful dish that my mom was excited about at home, or they bought a piece of art when each of us were born. And it's not because they had a ton of money. It was just, it was important to them.
What a time to be growing up. I mean, not just that you grew up in Slovakia, but that you grew up during that time there.
Very
like that
interesting
is
time.
Super interesting time. Like, were your parents, would you say they identified with like sort of dissidents, intelligentsia? It sounds like they probably did, if those were their interests.
Yeah, and it was interesting, super interesting time when I started school was right as the Iron Curtain fell. And so the borders opened up after being closed for 40 years. And we actually had an opportunity to attend school in Austria. So I crossed the border starting in grade 1, because I don't think there's a kindergarten there. Grade 1 to grade 6, my sister and I went to school in Austria. Crossed the border every morning with our passport.
How long did that take?
Like a 20-minute drive, because it's literally right across the border. And it was the Austrian government sort of had this special scheme that my mom had heard about, and she was determined to get us into this program because it was an opportunity to learn German. And so it was amazing. As a 5-year-old, you literally pick up another language like a sponge.
Yeah.
Like I just became fluent in German. I can still understand everything. It's harder for me to speak because I don't use it very much here in North America.
Doner kebab, meat alles bitte.
Exactly. Yeah, danke. But yeah, had an incredible grade 1 to grade 4 teacher, same teacher, Mrs. Leitgeb, who was the principal of the school as well, and was really like formative in my life. She was an amazing human. And then actually about like 10 years after I graduated high school, I had an opportunity to have dinner and like wine with her late into the night. And it was so cool just to reconnect with her after many years. But yeah, so cross the border every day to go to school. And then when we were in grade 6 going into grade 7, Czechoslovakia had split up, and my parents were like, we think there's going to be better opportunities for you guys in Canada. They'd never been. They applied to Canada and Australia, and it was like a points-based system. Canada replied first, and initially we were going to move to Toronto, and then some friend of a friend said, actually, Vancouver's a more beautiful city, and they're like, okay, never been to either.
Did they speak English?
Yes, their English was decent.
Yeah. Did you?
And I started learning English in grade 2 or grade 3.
Yeah, along with the German.
Yeah, exactly. My mom's
German.
sister had married an Englishman, and so she moved to the UK in her 20s, and my cousins were in the UK, so we would visit them, and they would visit us.
And what were your parents doing for work while you were growing up?
So my dad's a civil engineer, and my mom was always doing something art related, like kids art program, which now like it all tracks.
Right.
It's fun to look back at that, but really classic immigrant story, you know, when they came to, even though I consider
totally
our start from scratch. And honestly, it didn't kind of like click for me until now that I'm in my 40s. They were 40 with 3 young kids. My youngest sister was 3 years old when they moved. And they literally started from scratch, like including, you know, babysitters, pizza delivery, like all the things you hear. And they left their community behind. Now, they were lucky in the sense that we were able to travel. And I remember like started Paper Route when I was 12 or 13. So we could start going every summer, and we kind of like were encouraged to work a part-time job from, you know, from our teenage years. And it was good just to like help contribute to the plane tickets and stuff. And then my grandma would come from Slovakia. She would spend 6 months in Vancouver and 6 months back in Bratislava.
Now, you have been through, I mean, shout out to your parents. The amount of paperwork that's involved in just like a regular fucking kid's life will do my head in at any moment.
Yes.
Like, I cannot handle the beginning of the school year because of the number of forms.
Tell me about it.
I mean, to get you into the program in Austria, shout out Sound of Music.
Yes.
To get you to an entirely new country, to get you enrolled in school. Like the amount of stuff that they had to do and figure out how to make ends meet. So much stuff. And then, you know, like being kind of Eastern European, they're like, what's the best school with the highest ranking, right? Let's move to that neighborhood. Right.
We want to keep up your German. Let's get you into German school on like Wednesday and Friday afternoon. So I'm going to leave work early and make it up later at night. Like just all the...
There's a lot of pressure on kids, on immigrant kids.
Yeah, I never felt it in a direct way, but I guess like indirectly there is some of like, okay, gosh, like I've been given this really cool opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
maybe don't go into interpretive dance.
Yeah.
Maybe don't.
Exactly.
Or if you do, you better be the fucking best in the world.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like they encouraged the arts, but it was like, okay, let's study really hard and, you know, get into a good school. But yeah, I reflect back on how that move was, and kind of like moving continents and countries in grade 7 in the middle of the year. Yeah.
New kid at a new school, new country.
That's right. And I think it was like just early enough where you're like a couple of years before full-on teenagehood where it actually was still manageable. I don't remember it being hard. And my middle sister is just 14 months younger than me. So like I saw her around. Yeah. And then our youngest sister is 9 years younger. So
she's just happy to be here.
Yeah, exactly. So she adapted very easily. But overall, like we kind of integrated quite well and made friends. And, you know, right away in like junior high, I was very into peer counselor and student council. Like, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was like another way to make friends and to be involved in the school. But I just became like a very active kid in all the things at school.
And what was the sort of parenting ethos and vibe? I mean, they clearly loved you so much. Yeah. They did so much and sacrificed so much to make sure that you guys were being given amazing opportunities. Yeah. They exposed you to the arts. They cared about creative things.
Yeah. When they cared about travel, you know.
They were cultured. Like, I just have this totally romanticized view of people growing up in that time, the sort of like bohemian intelligentsia of that time, that sort of like dissident group was so fucking cool. Yeah. So I'm just putting your parents right in that boat.
They are in that boat.
Putting them right in that boat. And also, like, they're still parents parenting within a certain culture. What were there any sort of standout things where you're like, my parents do things a little differently than the other kids?
Yeah. I mean, I would say the only thing different was like bringing rye bread with pate to school as my lunch. Like other kids didn't. Is like, why does your lunch look like that? But like, they were strict but not unreasonable. Like we had respect for them, and they weren't there to be our best friend. But like, if I needed a shoulder to cry on, like they were the first people I'd want to call. You know, and they set some boundaries. Like I remember in high school sneaking out to go to a party, and they figured it out and showed up. We're here to pick up Barbara. the door, you know, but yeah, I kind of look back, honestly, like pretty fondly at our childhood. And I remember them spending time together, spending time with us, like family dinners were really important. You know, my mom, even though she's working full time, like we always had a home cooked meal. Yeah.
Okay, I get it. So we're getting a picture of like you're watching hard work, you're watching people juggle a lot.
Yeah.
You're watching your parents raise 3 kids.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, ain't no thing. Like, that's the standard. That's the normal. We juggle, we adapt.
Totally.
So we get that. And you're the oldest of 3. I love a birth order thing, as you may or may not know. Do you think, it sounds like you do, but do you think you identify as an oldest?
Very much so. It's like a huge part of my identity.
And
yeah, it's probably annoying for my sisters, especially my youngest sister. She's like, I am not the baby. I'm like in my 30s now.
I still am.
Yeah.
I'm the baby, and I'm still the baby to my siblings.
Yeah.
To this very day.
Yeah.
They both hate it, as I can say, as the youngest, and also love it because they wouldn't know where their ass was if somebody didn't check in every now and then.
Yeah, totally.
Shout out to your siblings. So you said earlier that you are like now just sort of coming in to accept your creativity.
Yeah.
It sounds like A, it was there all along.
I think so.
But B, maybe also clouded by like the fact that you had a lot of shit to get done. You had a lot of like just ambition to succeed, and we're not really shown a lot of examples of creative people, like it being okay to be creative and that being a path to success. Right?
Yeah, totally. And I think for me, you know, I'm not a traditional creative. I don't know what that means, but I guess I didn't see myself as a creative.
You weren't like painting somewhere.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't paint. I don't make sculptures. I don't weave. I don't do any of those things, but I love building a brand and community and, you know, good design and beautiful aesthetic. But yeah, it's kind of like I've gotten more and more into that creative path over the last 20 years. So initially, when I graduated, I got into sciences at UBC, which is the local university in Vancouver.
It's also a very good university.
It's a good university.
The local university that's highly competitive.
Yeah, it's a good school. And about a month before, I just had this little spidey sense. I'm like, I don't think just because I got good grades in science, I actually think I'm more of a social science, you know, Bachelor of Arts grad. And so I swapped. I called the school and I was like, I actually want to be in the arts program. And they're like, easy, because you had the grades to get into science, you know? So I ended up studying international relations with a minor in business. So I always had this like interest. And then I worked in the nonprofit sector in Vancouver. There's not a ton of international relations type work. You have to move to Toronto or Ottawa. So yeah, I was in the nonprofit sector, ended up in fundraising for a local children's hospital, learned a ton there, what still serves me to this day, really amazing work that I respect deeply. Fundraisers are amazing. Nonprofits are amazing.
Yeah. Such a heavy lift.
Yeah, such a heavy lift. And you just tend to appreciate things like, you know, when people say, oh, you should spend 0% on admin, like every dollar has to go to the cause. Well, yes, but like someone also needs to build the strategy and like go after the cause. So it just like made me think differently about that whole space. And then while I was there, and a former colleague had connected with me and he said, Barbara, the UN is running this young professionals program and Slovakia is on the list.
Ooh. Big deal to get on the list.
You can use your Slovak passport. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's
good for something.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, that's so exciting. So speaking about forms and a detailed process, but I'm like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. What a cool opportunity. And it was kind of the UN's way of equalizing to make sure that member states had at least some representation working at the Secretariat. And so I went for it. I applied. It was a 2-year-long process that you do. I think initially it was an exam and then you do a verbal interview. There was like 3 or 4 hoops.
So extensive.
You do all those things. And I think it's like less than a 2% chance. Like in my year, 100 of us got in and I don't know. It was like absurd. The chances were absurd. Yeah. You know, I've forgotten it, but I was like, it's never going to happen, but let's do it. Let's go through all the steps. And then eventually you end up on this roster, and the UN can send you anywhere in the world. And by that point, I'd married my husband.
Wait, so how old were you at this point?
I was like 27.
Okay.
Yeah. And his job was very much in Vancouver in the furniture space. His parents' wholesale furniture business, which we can touch on later. But we sort of said, if we're going to move, the only thing feasible for us is kind of New York. And what are the chances that I'm going to get a job in New York? Anyway, long story short, they called me to say, hey, we've got a match for you at the program evaluation office in New York. Do you want to start this job 3 months from now?
As a matter of fact, yes, I do.
And I was like, well, my 20-year-old international relations self, like, dream come true. And from the moment I stepped on to, like, the airport in New York, I just fell in love with the city. We'd moved back in a heartbeat. We ended up living there for 3 years. Our oldest was born there, and then eventually wanted to be closer to family, and so moved back to Vancouver. But yeah, so that was my stint at the UN.
Wow. Now, I had a similar stint in my life where for 10 years I worked in international development.
Yeah.
And traveled all over and worked with the UN and a bunch of those types of organizations. And at some point, I just had this moment where I was just like, this is really important work, but I don't actually think it's my passion.
Yeah.
And also, there's so much noise and mess in between, like, what I want to achieve for the world and, like, what my day-to-day job is.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to square those things.
Yeah. I think it's all kind of comes back to impact. Like, I think, you know, part of what my parents instilled in me without kind of beating me over the head is like do something good with your time here.
Yeah.
Make an impact. And that impact felt like really, like either a really long time away or like really disconnected.
Yeah.
And I think you can make an impact by being a mentor to someone in your community or, you know, maybe you're volunteering in your kid's school or at the soup kitchen, but there's
or also
a million
just
different
running
ways.
your own business in a way that is ethical and responsible
Yeah.
and is reducing consumption by making high quality things. Like I
Totally.
could see how you integrated the principles you cared about into what would become your business.
Totally.
That makes
Exactly.
sense.
I think those values are very much part of the way we run the business. Yeah.
The businesses kind of.
Yeah. So I can
how do-
tell you a little bit about how like we went from UN to like
tell me. Well, wait.
random businesses.
Your husband.
Yes.
You lock eyes where? Where do we meet?
High school.
Oh, gross, guys. High school.
New kid. Grade 11. We moved schools again. My mom's like, the high school in that community is better than that. Better ranking. Like, Mom, grade 11? Like, everybody's really made friends by the time you get to grade 11. So I was the new kid, and we were in chemistry and math together.
So you had chemistry?
We had chemistry, and we were friends. We dated for a week or two in grade 11, and then I'm like, you know what? This is not going to work, because once we're together, we're going to be together for a really long time. I just feel it.
Wow. Okay, Barbara.
Yeah. And then he was going to go to prom with someone else, and I'm like, oh.
This feels bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
and
kidding.
we've kind of been together ever since.
Wow. Now, what was it about? Take us back to grade 11, Barbara. What was it? What's your husband's name again?
Mo.
What was it about Mo that really spoke to you? That you're like, it's Mo or bust.
He's just a good guy.
Yeah.
It's like you could just tell that he kind of, I think even back then as a 16 or 17-year-old was kind of comfortable in his own skin without being arrogant and annoying, just kind of even keeled. And I thought he had a cute smile. And
oh, Mo.
Yeah. Then we kind of went from there. But he grew up with immigrant parents. His parents are from Iran, and they moved during the revolution. And so we kind of had some of those similar values and things like family and having dinner together every night. And they eat a lot of stews too. You know?
They love a stew.
They love
and
a
also
stew.
just like a lot of shared understanding of where your parents are probably coming from.
Yeah.
Because they do rule the roost until you leave the house in so many ways. And after, they just like massively influence how we think about the world for better or for worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you guys have been together for a million years. You get married, you're 20, how old were you?
27, 28.
27, 28, you're married. And when does the first kid come along?
33, 34.
Okay, so
we would have had a kid sooner, but because that whole UN thing happened, we're like, oh, New York's way too much fun. Like, we're having a great time.
What a great reason to not have kids.
Yeah. So we're like, let's hold off on this kid thing. So yeah, we waited about 5 years, I guess. We were married for about 5 years before we had our first. Yeah.
Okay. And where are you professionally when the first one enters the picture?
So at the UN, and the plan was once he arrives, let's take mat leave back in Vancouver and then sort of like figure out our life. Do we move back to Vancouver? Well, it was TBD, but we knew we wanted to be closer to our families. We're both super close with them. We wanted to be close to grandparents, and both sets of grandparents were in Vancouver.
And so for you then, you had the space, you had the time to have this kid, to be supported and surrounded by people who you cared about. This is way pre-pandemic days.
Yes.
And motherhood. You knew you wanted to have kids, it sounds like.
Yeah. You know what? The first couple months didn't feel like it was a big change, I would say. I didn't feel supportive, but it really was. Now having 4 kids, like going from 2 to 4 was so much easier rather than going from 0 to 1. Like 0 to 1 was the hardest. I don't think it's everybody's experience. It definitely
was my experience. Yeah.
It was my experience. Yeah, I was just like, what happened to my life? Hudson was, I think, a colicky baby. I don't know. He just cried a lot. Yeah. He was constantly crying. I felt like he was either crying, eating, or sleeping. Yeah. Like barely sleeping. So
yeah.
Crying. I remember a week after he was born, my mom was there for a few days, and then I called my sister-in-law, and she had a 1-year-old at the time. I think 1, maybe 2-year-old. And I was like, Sarah, you need to just come and like hang out with us for a couple of days, which was so nice. And I felt like my friends who'd had babies that were 6 months old or a year old. And I just remember feeling so alone. Like, you have no idea what I'm going through, even though they went through it like 6 months before. But I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is so hard.
This is so fucked up. Nobody tells you about this. Yeah. And it's like, everybody tells you about this. But until you feel it in your body and experience it for yourself, like, no amount of somebody telling you it's hard makes any sense.
Yeah.
Right?
It felt really hard.
And lonely. And, like, your spouse is there, but, like, they don't really get it in the same way.
Yeah. I remember Mo asked me one day, like, Hudson was maybe 3 months old, and he's like, oh, did you have a chance to go deposit that check in the bank? I'm like, what? Like, leaving the house? Like, no, I did not have a chance.
And how
to
dare
do
you
that.
ask me, quite frankly?
Yeah. And then I kind of like realized, like, I can maybe do like one thing a day, maybe. And that one thing might be like getting milk, you know? It wasn't like going to the bank is like not something I had capacity for.
No, I remember early on, like, I would be in New York because our first was born there. And I'm watching people, and they're pushing the stroller outside, and they're holding the dog leash.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how are they
doing
that?
Yeah.
How are they? I will never do that. I will never be able to do that. Yeah. And now it's like I will take both kids. Yes. Somebody's doing something they shouldn't be doing, and the dog, and I'm answering an email. Like,
I know. I remember that feeling so vividly. I had 2 girlfriends come over, and their kids were around the same time. It was back in Vancouver, and one of them brought homemade cookies, and it was beyond me. Yeah. I did not understand. I'm like, possibly? How? And my kid, like, their kids, like, we were having coffee. He was screaming, and they were chill, you know? So some of my babies were chill later on, and Hudson's the chillest kid now.
Some of my babies, because there are so many.
There are so many of them. So, it was an interesting time, but it was around that time that we started Field and Social, which is the food business that we started with another partner.
Now, for Americans, what's like the closest experience that an American could have to a Field and Social here?
It would be like a sweet green, a chopped, just salad.
I thought. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Looks amazing.
Yeah.
Would you ever bring it here?
I don't think so. We've kept it pretty small, and the focus is so much on
Vancouver, and
now also on the furniture businesses.
Right.
But
obviously, yes.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing on that identity point also, like when you become, let's not forget that Barbara before that point had been hustling really fucking hard to make this kind of impossible career happen.
Yeah.
And then overnight you go on maternity leave and
Totally.
it's silent. And
Yeah.
You're not putting your you're not arriving at the UN with your bag every day.
Yeah, walking the streets of New York to get to the office.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, it's like,
it was like a big, and then moving back, and I'm like, just feeling like finding my place back in Vancouver. And, we weren't gone for that long, but long enough where like it's the time where a lot of people had moved. They'd moved cities or jobs. And so you're kind of like reestablishing your friends.
And you're coming back as Barbara the mom rather than
Yeah.
Barbara the international relations badass.
Yeah,
Like, it's just a different thing.
Totally.
It's a totally different thing.
Totally. And I miss New York. Like I deeply was mourning that,
Yeah.
I think. So it was kind of this mix of like new mom, hormones, kind of an unhappy baby, and missing New
Sounds
York.
like a really unhappy baby.
It was tough.
Feel bad for him too.
Yeah.
Now you start this field in social business. Had either of you worked in food before?
No.
So where did the genesis come from?
So everybody tells you don't start a restaurant and don't go into business with a friend, and we did both of those things.
Sure.
And we actually started the business while we were still in New York. And the idea was like, this is kind of like, you have so much time when you don't have kids.
Oh, yeah.
Evenings.
You don't
weekends.
realize it, but you really do.
Yeah. And I did have this creative energy. Mo's from a very entrepreneurial family, and they were super encouraging, like, let's do this. So he was more like kind of like the business plan, and I was working with our designer for the first location. And we partnered with who was going to be the operator, the day-to-day operator. So I thought, this is just like such a fun thing. I get to, do the Instagram grid, and then this person is going to run the business day-to-day. Well, it didn't work out that way. When we moved back, we ended up buying the partner out of the business. He ended up moving countries, and I stepped in as the day-to-day operator kind of overnight.
Wow.
My oldest was 5 months old at the time.
Oh my God.
So that was like shock number 2. So he started sleeping. That part became easier and more manageable
Thanks,
as soon as he
Hudson.
started sleeping. Yeah.
Also Hudson for the Hudson River? Question mark?
Ask me about how Mo ended up in the Hudson River when we did this sunset cruise in New York. He literally fell into the Hudson River because the fence on the sailboat snapped. I kid you not. And the Coast Guard had to rescue him.
No.
But we loved Hudson Street. So there's many reasons in like the nod to New York. Yeah.
Got it. I love it.
Anyway, so I ended up kind of overnight.
Mo's never going on a boat again.
He's never going on a boat again. It was this romantic cruise that turned into, oh my gosh, Mo is in the water. Good thing he's a good swimmer because he's not wearing a life jacket.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so I vividly remember it was kind of November, December of 2016. So yeah, Hudson was born in July, so he was a few months old, and took over this business that I knew nothing about.
Sure.
I'd always worked in retail or like random jobs. Baby Gap, as you know, in university. And then I worked at a motorhome rental place in the summer so I could practice my German with the German tourists. But I never worked in hospitality. And so I didn't know what it was like to work in a coffee shop or a restaurant.
Yeah.
And Mo's like, you know what? It's not that hard. We have 10 menu items. You're smart. You can figure it out. And so put Hudson into daycare earlier. We were lucky in Canada, right? You have a longer maternity leave. So I was on mat leave, but I ended up putting him into daycare, patching it together quickly, finding a part-time daycare spot. In-laws took him for a day. My sister took him for another afternoon. And it was really hard in those early months as I was figuring out what's going on in this business. At the time, we had just the one location. It was about a year old when I took it over. And the chef walked out on like day 3 after I took it over. Middle of lunch shift, she just left. She's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I remember we had a pop-up with this cool chef in the city on a weekend because I wanted to bring in community, and the oven broke. And then I remember a dishwasher broke mid-service. Once Mo was having lunch with someone, and I'm like, you need to come to the back and literally like help do the dishes, because like it was just all the things, literally trial by fire. But I am so grateful for that opportunity because it was literally like a compressed, crash course in running a small business, in running a restaurant, in managing a team, in hiring, in all the things.
Oh my God.
It was hard on the
And
ego.
also you were like a couple months postpartum.
I was a couple months postpartum.
And you guys still like each other, like to this very day.
Yeah, we do. So, but about 6 months after I took it over, we started to see momentum in the business and like, this is actually feasible. Let's look for another location. And so eventually opened up 3 more locations.
Wow.
And yeah, but I was never meant to run this. Like this was, not
this
my
was not the
dream
plan.
to kind of like run a restaurant. The part I enjoyed most about it every time we open a restaurant was working with the interior designer to help design the space. And so now it all connects. So then the pandemic came. That was tough for restaurants. We're quick serve. We're primarily in areas that are kind of high density office areas.
Yeah.
And a lot of that business went away. We closed 3 out of 4 of them for 3 months during the pandemic, kept one open, and somehow kind of like scraped by and survived and then started rebuilding. And then in 2019, we launched Sundays. And around that time, we hired a director of ops for field who's amazing and runs the business day to day.
God bless them.
Yes,
May you
truly.
never deal with a broken oven again.
Yes, truly.
Now, the Sundays comes at an interesting point, right? Because people are spending a shit ton more time at home.
Yeah.
And starting to really care about what their homes look like because that's all they're looking at.
Yeah, exactly.
Was that part of like, did that sort of, do you feel like contribute to...
You know what?
The
it was
takeoff?
Contributed to the momentum. The timing was kind of a happy accident. So I alluded to Mo and Sarah, my co-founder and sister-in-law. They grew up in their parents' wholesale business and always saw this opportunity for a D2C brand that was very curated and
direct to consumer.
Direct to consumer, yeah. And that had a certain look. It's kind of like warm and a bit of that like West Coast look. And we partnered with another friend who's our head of design, Noah. And you're right, we were lucky. We launched 3 months before the pandemic and kind of gained some early momentum because people were so focused on the home, they weren't traveling, and that was super lucky.
And I know that you guys do some things a little bit differently. Like, for instance, you want to put people's furniture in their houses and you don't want my husband and I to get in a fight over an Allen wrench, right?
That's exactly it. Yeah. So from the very beginning, we're parents of young kids. Furniture shopping is a pain. So let's make the process super simple. Let's not offer you 100 different options of what shade of gray to choose for your couch, but also let's assemble it for you. Let's, take the packaging away. So from the very beginning, we've offered free delivery and free assembly on anything bigger. So like dining tables, beds, and sofas.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's major key.
Huge. The amount of arguments and like the amount of time that just like a box will sit in my living room will melt my brain.
100%. Like it's kind of nice for the kids if it's like a smaller box,
but
if it's a big box, it's tough for everybody.
Okay, so where are we on the kid having front at this point when Sundays launches?
Yeah, so we used to joke that with every new field and social location came a new kid. So all of our kids are 2 years apart. So with the second field location, we had our middle kid, and then 2 years later, twins. Like, let's go for a third, and then it was 3 and 4. So the twins came a year after Sundays launched, and just as the business was starting to take off. That was another tough moment.
When you found out you were having twins, and be honest with me, Barbara, what was the reaction?
I want to say I was like fully shocked, but you know what? I Googled as I was going for my first ultrasound, do you have more morning sickness with twins? I just felt a little different. And as I was leaving, I was telling Mo, it was the pandemic, so I had to go alone to this appointment.
Same, yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to come back and let you know if it's 0, 1, or 2. And I think he was kind of like, whatever.
0, 1, or 2, okay.
Right? Like in my head, I don't know. I just kind of had this spidey sense. And then the feeling I had was, okay, this is crazy. And like, there's no way they're going to make it to term. Like, I was so nervous with every appointment because it's such a miracle to have a kid, and to like grow 2 babies is insane.
It's insane. And you're working through this whole time.
Yeah, I was working this whole time, and the tough part really came. They weren't born super early for twins. I think they were like 35.5 or something a few weeks before their due date, but I had a really tough delivery. Like, what was meant to be a 20-minute C-section was a 4-hour surgery.
Whoa.
And they couldn't stop my bleeding, and There was like 3 different surgeons in there. Like it was very scary. And so that really shook me up. I was physically, I think, shaken up from like what my body had gone through.
Sure.
Yeah. And then, but luckily like the babies were healthy and they were doing okay. But those early months were rough. We had a lot of help. We ended up getting a night doula. We're like, we need to like be coherent for our 2 other kids. We're also trying to work. And like, how do you feed 2 babies at the same time? So for the first 6 weeks, we had someone come. I think she came 5 or 6 days a week. I don't know how we would have survived without that. But I remember, I vividly remember at that time feeling like, maybe if I get sick enough again, I can end up in the hospital and I can rest.
Yeah.
Like, I just like remember that so vividly.
That's like a total meme on the internet now. I don't know if you've seen those videos.
Really?
It's women standing at the top of the stairs and they're just holding a bunch of the kid shit. And they're like, if I fall down the stairs right now.
Oh my gosh.
I could get 2 days in the hospital. It's like a total meme. And I had the experience. I was in the hospital when I was pregnant. I had some Crohn stuff, and I was away for 3 days. And I was just like, this is fucking sweet.
Yeah.
And my husband's like dying, like the kid's sick here. He's dying at home.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, can I have some more Jello, please?
Yeah, exactly. So it's, and then I ended up, speaking to a therapist for a few months just to kind of like work through some of that stuff.
I wish I had done that.
Yeah. That was really good. I think my low point was when I was trying to get passports for the twins and I was
paperwork
missing a signature. And I just
paperwork.
Lost it. Like I fully lost it. I called my best friend and I was like, I'm just sitting here outside of the passport office. I want to drive far away and I don't want to come back.
Yeah.
I just want to go away.
Feel that so deeply.
Yeah.
So deeply.
Yeah.
And you're also helping to run 2 businesses.
Yeah, and you kind of have to like hold it together. Like you're showing up, you're a leader, and it's like it's good to be vulnerable, but
you want everyone to feel confident that you've got your shit together.
Yeah, exactly. But the best piece of advice I think my therapist gave me was, she said, you can't go from going 100 miles an hour in the morning, getting the kids ready for school. Your first meeting starts like the minute you hit the office. Your last meeting finishes as you're racing out the door. She's like, if you do one thing for yourself, block out the first 30 minutes of a day and the last 30 minutes. And it was like so simple, right? Yeah. Just kind of grouping some of your meetings, and that really made a difference. Sometimes I would just like sit in front of I try. It's not always possible, but I kind of try to like keep that principle. Sometimes like you just want to sit in your car in front of your building, right? Like moms love sitting in their cars. Like it's a thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
How else am I going to like look at my phone without somebody being like, what are you doing on your phone?
That's right.
Husband.
That's right. And you just don't even have the mental capacity to be like, oh, do I want to like go to a coffee shop, go for a walk like that? Like,
you just got to sit in the car.
You just got to sit in the car. So that was really good advice. And she's like, whatever you can start doing to give yourself those moments. It sounds so silly, but like those little moments of self-care.
So hard.
And in those years, like when you're so in it, I'm like out of that now, but like it feels impossible.
It feels impossible. I just remember I would write myself a note like, take a shower.
Yes.
Go outside.
Yes.
Drink water.
It feels really hard.
It feels really hard. And that is really valid. And for anybody listening with older kids, I just want to remind you, when you see somebody with a baby, and I say this to myself as well, and they're having a really hard time, don't say just wait.
Yes.
Because it is really hard for them. And yes, you are dealing with more complicated shit.
Yes.
And it is a different kind of hard.
Yeah.
But like, don't just wait them. That's the worst thing to hear. When you're going through it and somebody's like, just wait.
I agree. And to be honest, people have always said that to me. And now have a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and 5-year-old. And it is easier. Like, I'm sure it'll get harder again when they're teenagers. But they're also, cool, and you can have conversations with them. But yeah, in those, I agree with you. Don't
just wait them. Don't just wait them. They don't need that.
Yeah.
Now, through all of this with Sundays, like, you're creating this very like cool vibe because it's not just about making this beautiful furniture. It's sort of like it's a vibe. It's very like community.
Thank you for saying that.
It is.
Yeah.
It totally is. It's like it's got a very specific aesthetic and point of view, and Hetta does as well. We can talk about that. It's also its own vibe and thing.
Yeah.
And for you in your home,
yeah,
when you're cultivating this and you have 1 million children,
yeah,
what's your home giving us? Is it giving us a vibe? Is it giving us a tornado? Like, what's going on in there?
You know what? We're really like a less is more family, to the point where I think some parents would be like, do your kids have enough toys? Like, we just purge. We don't buy a ton of stuff for them because the grandparents do. Like, every holiday season, they just get so much stuff. And like, so we kind of get them like one gift, and for their birthday, they get one gift. So we don't have a lot of stuff and clutter. So that's kind of the vibe. I think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, that's like a minimalist home. Having said that, like, warmth is important to us.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a Sundays coffee table that's like super solid wood, and it actually kind of gets better with age. Like, at some point a crayon may make its way onto it, but you know, you can wipe it off. And real art, again, like, not expensive necessarily,
but not
like,
mass produced. Like, somebody actually made it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have the piece that my parents gifted me when I was born. And then, you know, we bought a piece for each of the kids when they were born.
And do you believe in performance fabric? Is that a real thing?
Yeah, it is. So we have our get-together couch, and it's got the performance fabric, and you can wipe off spills.
Because my husband and I are in this like constant showdown isn't the right answer because we're both on the same side.
Yeah, totally.
But we have this like unbelievably disgusting, shitty Bob's Discount Furniture couch that we bought during the pandemic because we moved to a rental for part of the time. And we still have this hideous, I mean, it is disgusting, the lives that have been lived on this couch. But we're like, we don't want to buy a new piece of furniture because
the kids are
our
little.
kids are disgusting.
Totally.
And little.
So what performance fabric, like, where it won't help is like, you know, chocolate stains or things like that, which might happen, right, with little hands. So I think in addition to performance fabric, what's super important is fully slip covered. So not just a few cushions that you can unzip and toss in the wash, but like our sofas are fully slip covered. So it means like the base you can take off, because otherwise you've got these nicely washed cushions and then it's not going to match the color of your base, right?
Yeah.
So like, that's another hack that I would look for when you're shopping for a sofa.
That's a good shout.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's like embarrassing when people come over.
No.
I'm like, oh my God, don't sit on the couch.
Yeah. And like,
the Bissell steam cleaner or whatever, like, it can only go so far.
Exactly.
Do you have a favorite, like, cleaner or things that you recommend people use to clean stuff, to get things out?
I mean, I don't like super heavy chemicals, so honestly,
you don't strike me as a super heavy chemical kind of gal.
Yeah, but I'm also not like only use, you know, vinegar or something. I just toss it like with regular laundry detergent into my washing machine.
And how are we getting crayons out of the table? I guess just
you can just wipe them. Yeah, because crayons typically, like kids' crayons are. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you have this very successful brand that has really taken off and is like established in the space now. And now you just launched another brand.
We did.
Now, does that make you crazy? Or do you just feel like they were so distinct and what the offering was so distinct that even if like the back end on your side looks similar, you wanted, it's a different consumer that's going to go for this versus that?
Yes. You're right. I think it's the latter. Yeah, we really like other looks as well. Like, we grew up with a cottage that had no running water, but it was in like rural Slovakia. It used to be a school actually that was like over 300 years old. And that feeling of being somewhere that's very rustic. It's a different kind of aesthetic. You would never put a Sunday's couch or a Sunday's table in there. And even Mo and Sarah, like their dad started with Persian rugs, you know, a lot more kind of like eclectic looks. And one option was diversify the Sunday's offering, but something I think we've done quite well over the last 5 years is kept that offering very tight, and cohesive, and we didn't want to lose that. And of course, we love building brands. And so this was an opportunity to offer a new look. And, you know, there's probably some crossover. Maybe you buy a Hetta farmhouse table, but you get your couch from Sundays or your bed from Sundays. So we expect a little bit of crossover, but you're right. the demographic might slightly differ.
Now, speaking of demographics, talk to me about the power of the mom as consumer, because it sounds like, I mean, I know that you're into building community just as a person.
Totally.
And with your brands. It also sounds like moms have been kind of an engine of growth for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And in like so many different ways. I think one is, you're right, as collaborators. Like we just recently did a pop-up just last week in New York with Milk Teeth. Again.
Oh my God, such cute clothes.
Right?
Yeah.
The best. And Picture Day, Max and Margot. So they did
cute.
photos, and Rebecca and Catherine from Milk Teeth. And yeah, these are just moms that can have a 5-minute, like the most efficient way to do a collaboration. Like we just get it done.
Yeah.
You know?
There's no time.
There's no time. I'm working on another collaboration in Vancouver, and literally it's with a local bakery, and I was there having brunch, and while I was waiting for my brunch day, I had 5 minutes, and I was talking to the owner. I'm like, what do you think of this? We found a date, like we locked it.
Amazing.
And so that's just like the way I think moms can do business. And yeah, like they're a decision maker. They're definitely, they're influencing the household in terms of what's being purchased, because they know what the mess is that a kid can make, whether it's with their dining table or on a sofa. And so, yeah, they care.
Now, for you and Mo working together, and you have your sister-in-law also in the mix.
And our friend, one of our friends from like high school. Yeah.
For you and Mo, how do you guys decide on the division of labor at work and at home? I know that you do different things at work.
That's right.
And also I'm sure at home, but how do you guys, like, did you have a proactive conversation, or did everybody sort of fall into roles and that sort of worked out?
Yeah, we do. So at work, you're right, all four of us own something quite different, which is great because we lean into everybody's strengths. And I love having co-founders for that reason. I admire single founders. Can't imagine being on my own.
Very lonely, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And at home, honestly, with this many kids and running multiple businesses, like you just kind of have to lean in and do it. We both travel for work, so we both have to have the ability. He's home with all 4 kids right now. One of them's on antibiotics. You know, we've got pizza lunch at school tomorrow. The other one has a math test. And so it's not like I'm in charge of this stuff and he only does this. We both have to be able to kind of lean in.
How does everybody stay briefed on what the hell is going on?
Shared calendars, like everything is in our calendar. Key is including travel time. So like, you know, Mila's doctor appointment, 30 minutes to get there. Parent-teacher interviews are coming up, like constantly, you know, so calendars is a thing. Checking in with each other. I'm going to do this trip, like any red flags before we book any flights. And then help. Like we have a lot of help. There's no way we're doing this alone. The kids were in full-time daycare, all 4 of them, since they were quite young. When the twins were little, we had a nanny before they were in daycare, and our families, part of why we live close to our families is like,
sounds like they're super helpful.
They help. And then we get support with like laundry a couple times a week and cleaning once a week. So we're by no means doing this alone.
No. Yeah. And it's needed, especially when there's like this level of ambition going on.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest like recurring argument that you guys have? I'm not going to call it a fight, but like disagreement. Everybody's got, because, you know, like, I don't know, I feel like there was this Harvard longitudinal study of relationships.
Yeah.
Over decades and decades.
Yeah.
And it showed that people have been together for like 50 years, have the same argument all of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably true. We don't argue a ton. It's when
you don't strike me as a big arguer.
Yeah, and we're kind of like we're both pretty even keeled, but it's like when our cups are empty. So like it's like, oh, like you might need a boys' night, or like, you know, it's usually something like that. I feel like he's better at planning boys' trips. And so sometimes like, why are you resentful that I'm going on this? Like
you go can on do it too.
Yeah. So like it's that kind of thing. It's just like looking out to make sure that everybody's cup is full. And sometimes it's literally like, okay, Barbara, go take a 20-minute walk, you know.
Go for a walk. No, but it's totally true. And I do think that that is something that like often moms feel a lot of guilt about.
Yes.
They know they need to do it, and they know it's for the best for everybody, but it's still really hard to step away.
Yeah, and I genuinely like hanging out with them.
Yeah,
so
I get it.
Sometimes I feel like, yeah, I do need the walk. I do need the alone time, but also I want to hang out with you guys. You've been away, and I'm like, my tank's feeling kind of empty, but like we haven't hung out as a family, so, you know. But it's kind of being smarter than that and just knowing, no, like
You gotta do it anyway.
You gotta do. And I'm an extroverted introvert. Like I do really replenish my energy by being alone. And it's hard to get alone time when you're running a business and you have so many kids.
Yeah.
So
you have to go on the
You
walk.
have to go out. Yeah.
Do you have pets?
No pets.
Okay, I was
Yeah,
gonna
my
say
parents-
I actually couldn't handle if you told me you had pets.
My
because-
parents have a dog, but we can't. And
No,
the kids
no.
would love one, And of course they say they'll walk it.
They
But
will.
like it's not
We
happening.
both know they won't.
Yeah.
Okay, now I want to ask you about just like the cultural differences that you observe, because you do have this multicultural upbringing, background yourself. You are raising your kids in Canada.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of time here and have lived here. You have the Slovakia experience. You have the Austria experience. Like, there's a lot there.
There's a lot there.
Do you feel like there's any sort of guiding principles or philosophy that you guys are using for your kids? Or is it just sort of like flying by the seat of our pants?
It's a little bit of flying by the seat of our pants, but I think the conversation that we often have is how do we not raise spoiled kids that have a little bit of grit? Because we were lucky growing up, and our kids are even luckier. Like, we get to do a lot of fun stuff, and it's easy to say yes. And, we're not like our love language isn't gifts. So even like
Minimalist, clearly.
Yeah, exactly. So like, it's not like we shower the kids with gifts, but we love food. So if you're at a coffee shop with me and you're one of my kids and you want like the $7 croissant, I'll probably say yes. And then we might be somewhere else and you're throwing a tantrum, and just to like, okay, sure, we'll get the cookie. So like, that's something we got to watch. But like the power of hard work, our parents really kind of like paved their own path and they made it. And so, how do we just raise kids that are like willing to work for it? Like nothing's going to be handed to them.
Yeah, that balance is tough. Do
It's
they
tough.
get allowances?
Not yet.
Chores?
We're starting chores. Yeah, but we don't have a point system. It's kind of like you help with loading the dishwasher now. Like you guys, 2 of you are setting the table, 2 of you are helping to, load the dishwasher after dinner, that kind of thing. Make your own bed. Like we're just starting with the basics. We're not very far along. But boundaries, like I think kids need routine and they need boundaries. Is like that's when they tend to thrive the best.
I agree.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm trying to figure out right now in my own parenting is what consequences look like that are reasonable for shitty behavior.
Yeah.
Because like I know there's this whole idea of natural consequences, like the crime needs to match the punishment.
Yeah.
Whatever
Sure.
that is.
Yeah.
But, like, sometimes that feels really confusing.
Yes.
Like, what is the consequence for my son calling me a penis head? I don't know. Like, I don't know what the natural corollary.
I
to
know.
that is. Other
And
than being like, hey, buddy, that's not kind. Like that made me feel bad. Be like, that's not a consequence though. He doesn't give a shit. He's 5.
Yeah.
So, how do you guys think about that? You're just further along, so I'm just curious.
You know what? We try and like relate it to age a bit. It's like, the 3-year-old, like when they're having that kind of meltdown.
Yeah,
and even a 5-year-old,
Yeah.
when they start like the bathroom word thing, like it's just like every kid does it and they eventually get over it. That is actually the approach we take. Like, in our family, we don't use a word in this like way. Like that doesn't feel nice.
Yeah.
They'll push you,
and then you just keep
continue
saying
it. With the older ones, it's like, okay, well then there's no TV tonight.
Yeah, okay. That's where we're at right now. Is like, all right, you know what?
And then sticking with it, because sometimes I'm like, if I could just put you in front of the screen, I could like go back on my computer.
Getting rid of the TV time is the biggest thing that parents do to punish ourselves, right?
Yeah. But they very quickly start improving the behavior. The other thing that we noticed with them is like if bedtime starts to get trickier, usually around when like it's like time changes and like in the summer going to bed is harder, ending screen time earlier and giving them like a window to chill and do something else. Like maybe it's a little bit of like crayons or reading or like just doing another activity, because we find that going screen to like being in your bed and reading a book and brushing teeth, like you need something in between.
Yeah, no, we do that too.
Yeah.
Now, when you think about, you've got these million children that seem to be doing great. They're lucky enough to...
And they have challenges,
well, of course.
right? And they have their own personalities. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And would you say, like, you understand where all of your kids are coming from?
No.
Yeah. Because
No.
not...
We're just learning.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
we're
'cause
learning.
one of my kids, I'm like, I get you more. And the other
Yeah.
kid, I'm like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't get it. I mean, I
And
feel...
we're constantly learning. Like the twins just started kindergarten, and I thought one of them is like super extroverted and the other one's a lot more shy. And I thought obviously the extroverted one will have an easier time making friends. And the reverse has been true. The more reserved one is like building deeper friendships, and the extroverted one is like, oh, I'll just hang out with my older brothers at recess. Like I'm not going to bother talking to the
Interesting.
kids in my, and I that was kind of unexpected behavior. I'm like, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting that.
There's still things to learn
Yeah,
about these children.
yeah.
Now, as they go and they continue, do they have, like, is there a career day at your kids' school?
I don't think so.
Maybe there will be.
Maybe
one.
there will be when they're older, right?
Do you ever hear them talk about what you guys do for work?
Yeah, we talk about business a lot. We just talk about it at our dinner table because kind of like work and life and work, like, yeah, life, work bleeds together for us. Mo and I are constantly talking about work. So when Hetta launched, we're like, hey, Hudson, what do you think of this dining table? Do you like, the walnut or the oak? And so it's, fun to see. Yeah.
Now, you sound a little bit like a serial entrepreneur because you build these babies and then they grow up and they become these businesses and then they're kind of on their path that you've set them on. Do you think you're going to keep building, keep going?
It depends, I feel like, on the other co-founders. I'm kind of like up for the game. I'm usually not the one that's like, that's usually Mo. Like, let's strike this. This is the next idea. And then I'm all game.
You're down.
To implement it. Always game to implement it.
DTI, down to implement.
Down to implement. And he's like very much the ideas person. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like building a business, building a community. And we're kind of in it for the long run. Like this is not...
Wait, have you ever failed at something you started?
I mean, I think there's been failures along the way for all of them. Yeah, there's failures
and
along the way.
In terms of, like, you mentioned grit for your own kids. When the failures come up, like, what are you saying to yourself? Because I think that's, like, one of the hardest parts is just to continue fucking going.
And I remember in a lot of failures in those early field and social days when I took over. And it was like, I had this feeling it will get harder before it gets easier. But then when you go through that, the next time you go through a hard thing, you're like, oh, remember that time? Like, I got through that thing.
Yeah.
And so each challenge, not that it becomes easier, but you become a little bit more resilient. Your skin's a little thicker to go through it. It's kind of like being a manager and, seeing a problem or like a similar problem again. You're like, okay,
How many employees do you have now?
There's about 50.
50 employees. And how many people do you manage day to day?
Under 5.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people. If we count Mo as you managing him sometimes and your 4 kids.
The children, there's a bunch.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Are you an Excel spreadsheet person?
I don't like spreadsheets.
Are you a list maker? How do you keep yourself organized?
I'm head in the clouds, ideas brainstorming session. Like that's my happiest place. And even like in university, the way I studied was mind maps, just colors, mind maps.
How do you feel about a deadline? Are we like, everything goes in the calendar and that's...
Everything goes in the calendar.
Okay.
So I'm more like Outlook is my list. And I honestly, like I could get better at that. And I'm trying to get, ChatGPT to help me a little bit, like to become more organized in that way. I've tried OneNote. I have so many notebooks that are like half-finished notebooks. It's my intention every September or Jan, like I'm going to buy this beautiful Moleskine notebook and, I'll write my to-do list and it never lasts.
I think you're doing something right, though.
I don't know.
I think you're figuring it out. Is there anything you want everyone to know about Hetta or Sundays or anything that you want people to know? I mean, I'm going to put it in the show notes. I'll put all the information for people to go and find.
Yeah.
I think I even have some highlights of some favorite pieces
I love that.
about.
Yeah.
But what I would love for you from the show notes is if you have any pictures of you growing up.
I
want Slovakia, Barbara.
Yeah. Do you want my cottage?
I want some photos of that for the show notes.
So cute.
But is there anything else you want anybody to know?
I think just follow Hetta Home and Sunday's Furniture for all the things, for the brands, and I don't know, collaboration over competition is like a value I really live by, and I think we live, with all the businesses. I just think there's kind of room for all of us.
I love that. And of course you think that. That's so nice. Well, what I appreciate is somebody who likes things that look nice and also doesn't have a brain who can do that, is I feel like somebody could go on either of the websites based on what their sort of vibe is and not have to think that hard.
Yes, we want to do the thinking for you.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah. That's definitely the goal.
Barbara, this has been so much fun. It is so sweaty in the closet today.
It's
I don't know about
warm.
you. I'm fucking dying.
Yeah,
so I
it's
appreciate you being on this journey with me.
Thank
and
you for
somehow
having me.
Your bangs are still intact. I don't know how you did it. And I'm excited to see. It's going to be fun because we're getting in at the ground level of watching where Hetta goes. Sundays is off and went and is thriving. But now this is going to be fun to see where this journey goes for the girl who loves to build a brand.
Yeah. So much fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming. Team, I need your help. If you love it here, please like and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Subscribe to the Substack for full access to this episode's show notes and join the discussion. And of course, follow me on Instagram at mutha, mutha.life for a daily look at all things mother. Thanks for listening. Be sure to tune in next week for another Chat in the Closet. This podcast was produced by Mother Life, music by Ronan Landa. See you next time.